Hello and welcome to the Heroes World Book Club. I'm Andre, and today I'm joined with my fellow Force fans, and we are going to be discussing Dark Force Rises, Book 2 in the Thrawn Trilogy by Timothy Zahn. I'm joined today by my friend Jesse Rendar, Megan Jin, and Scott Solo. How's everybody doing on this fine evening?
Hello.
Hello.
Fantastic.
Doing well.
All right. So hopefully you guys who are watching this had a chance to either watch our previous couple videos where we discussed book 1, which was fantastic. We highly recommend it if you haven't got to it. And we are now on to book 2. But for this video, we're going to try a different format. We have covered the first 10 chapters of this book, and we are going to discuss what we liked, our favorite scenes, our favorite moments, favorite characters. We're not going to dissect it chapter by chapter. We are just going to discuss and revel in this great series. So I'm going to give you guys a brief synopsis of what the book is about and where we left off. So the Thrawn trilogy takes place several years after Return of the Jedi. The Empire's in ruin, and the New Republic is just a fledgling. They are now beginning to basically put all the pieces together. But a Grand Admiral is making the Empire great again. So the Republic is...
Can you, Andre, come on. That's sensitive to us down in the lower 48. You gotta...
I had to throw it in. It was just too good. It was too good.
It was good.
So Thrawn is basically going to put what he calls the rebels down. The Republic he refers to as the rebellion still. And the New Republic, between infighting and kind of not knowing that a Grand Admiral exists, are not ready for Thrawn. Add into the mix a mad, crazy Jedi Master that Thrawn has recruited, and the Rebellion, aka Republic, is probably, shall we say, in a little bit of trouble. Thrawn has outsmarted, outmaneuvered, and as well put them in precarious situations because he wants Princess Leia and her unborn twins as a payment to the Jedi Master Joruus Koboth. So we are now on to book 2, which is Dark Force Rises. And guys, what did you think about the opening chapter of this book? The first, it was almost like Timothy Zahn didn't miss a beat. We were just not even hitting the ground running. I think the book started at probably 100 kilometers an hour. What that would be in miles there, Scott. You could tell
60, 65 at least.
65. Yeah. So let's say he's going 100 miles per hour. He's really just pedal to the metal. The book, the series just goes. And again, to read it back to back, like I said, this is probably my at least third read through of this. But to just end the book 1 and start into this, you're just like, wow. So I got to say, really, really enjoyed that. It did feel like, it didn't even feel like a break. You know what I mean? You say the mid-season finale or anything. It just felt like, hey, we're going to pick up right where we left off. And I got to say that was fantastic. You guys felt the same? Jesse?
Yes, it hit the ground faster than running, light speed.
Yeah.
There was no pause in between the two books. I can't imagine. It was a year between the two books when they were first released, right?
Yeah.
91 and 9. I can't imagine waiting that long to read the second book.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
right?
Originally, yep. When I originally read it, it was getting the hardcover, and boy, never had I been more happy to buy an expensive book. Once that hit, you're just day one. Could you imagine day one going to a bookstore to get that? There was no Amazon delivery. That's you had to get out and drive to a bookstore and stuff like that. So yeah, it was just so amazing. Megan, what did you feel with the beginning of the book?
Oh man, I was pumped. The entire time I was on the edge of my seat because I didn't know if they were gonna get away or what was gonna happen. But like Jesse said, light speed right away, and it was awesome.
Yeah, and Scott, yourself?
Yeah, it moves right into what we said in all our videos with the Thrawn playing, chess and everybody else, just, I don't know, playing like football, right? Like, I mean, like totally different games. Like he started out thinking everybody from like literally page one, he had his whole thing on like the three, he's like, why are we attacking an empty base? He's like, here's why we're attacking an empty base, because we're going to find him and he might have made a mistake, and right, like it just, and then then they found him, like sitting behind a random meteor or asteroid or moon. It's like, it's awesome.
Yeah,
I love the thinking.
It's really cool just how well the author describes things, and we've got all these different characters and their different motivations, and now you see kind of a shall we say I don't want to say a battle of wits, but more like a battle of egos. Thrawn feels that the smuggler Talon Card has betrayed him, so he goes back to Talon's base, and the Imperials are going to basically just ransack it, look for any clues, and of course then you've got Talon, who is all about, it's not just smuggling, he's an information broker. So he's like, well, I'm going to outplay Thrawn. I'm going to, basically hide behind this asteroid. Thrawn's never going to think that I'm here, because who would basically want to go up against the Grand Admiral? Who wants to go up against the Empire? So these two egos going, clashing head to head. And what a great scene on the Wild Card, which is Talon's ship, where there's this dialogue going on between the Talon, his first in command, which is Mara Jade, and also his, I guess, second in command. And Mara Jade's just antsy. She's like, something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong.
We gotta go.
And it was like, cool down, Mara. They can't scan us. If they scan us, we can we'll know. And she's just got the finger or the foot on the pedal. She's wanting to go. And all the while she's questioning herself. She's like, why do I feel this way? I've got no reason. She's like, if I'm getting these feelings again, are the nightmares going to come? She's literally tormented. And then we find out that Thrawn is like, yeah, I think they're here, but I called in another an interdictor, which is a capital ship that can create a gravity well, so they can't escape. And at the last second, Mara Jade's like, nope, we got to go. And she just guns it. And Talon doesn't question her. He's like, hey, you know what? She can make the, and if she didn't start the engine at that moment, they're caught. Yeah. So we've got this great scene of this Talon ship kind of, trying to get to speed, and an interdictor coming in. They're like, this is just a foot race at this point. If we can get outside of their gravity well, and I'm like, what a great scene. But then he's dropping so many cool hints, because what are the name of his pets? Talon's got two pet Voshners or something, and they just start going like crazy. Like Mara is, at this point, I guess I hope you guys getting the same feeling as I am. I've read it, so spoiler, like her connection to the Force is returning, and those beasts were native to Merkur, and they were going after Luke Skywalker, and they just pull into the flight deck. And Mara Jade's like, what's wrong? And Talon's like, Mara, it's Mara, and he's got to basically pull them under. But you're just getting this sense of, oh man, if her Force is awakening, like what can she do? So
you're allowed to say that?
Yeah,
Force Awakens in her.
Cool scene, like just the description. I'm just, man, loving it. Like you said, that first chapter is just gold. He's not massaging us in. He's just like, sit down, get the seatbelt on, we are going, and boom, just amazing. And to me, I felt like the whole pace of the first 10 chapters is like that. There's no, okay, let's sit back and relax. Like everything's in motion and stuff like that. So it's really a very cool vibe, very cool feeling with this. We're focused on all of the main players that we left off with. You've got Han Solo, you've got Leia, you've got Luke, you've got Chewie, Lando. It's just like it's exactly where we left off, and each one of them has their own part to play, and they're going on, and we see again, the machinations of Thrawn's brain for why he made that attack and what kind of the political fallout is, right? Everything to destabilize the New Republic so they won't be ready for what he's planning. So yeah, I'm just, nicely awestruck from reading it. So it's just super cool. So let's talk about who wants to go first with kind of one of their favorite moments in the first 9 chapters. Who can I call on first?
Can I give a theme?
Definitely, of course.
So we've talked about this over the first book too, about the coincidence, right? Like how certain players and certain pieces move and get to the maybe the right place or the wrong place depending on which side of the story you're on. And he has more of that in here, where it's who is it, that Niles, that furrier, that little smuggler. He shows up in a couple different spots, and then even outside of our chapters tonight, he kind of shows up again. And why does Thrawn end up at the I don't remember the name of the planet of the Nogari, but like those coincidence things. But I think what's nice is and Andre, you mentioned this, I think, in one of the other podcasts, the loopholes with some of the what ifs, right? Like where it's just like they don't, like you'd say, like, well, how did that happen, or why did that happen, and they don't really explain it. Zahn does a really nice job of like just subtly dropping these little things in so that as you read the story, it makes sense why certain people turn up in certain spots to continue that. And it has a connection. And now you could say, well, he's just, he's retconning it or whatever to put it in there. But the way he does it, it makes sense. And you can see the thought process of the characters of why they're doing certain things or going certain places. So there was a lot of that in these first 9 chapters where you saw like a little blip here, and then all of a sudden someone came back and how it really related to the story. And I think he fleshes that out really nicely. And I liked that in the first book, and I love that he's continuing that. So I guess that's my favorite. I guess maybe that's a literary theme or, something that, he's threading in there. But I really enjoy how he's working in those characters and tying the stories together so it makes sense that it's happening.
Yes, I honestly 100% agree with you, Scott. I think what you're really getting at is when he introduces a character, that character has a point to play, and you might not know what that part/point is until later, but know that there is no wasted characters, as well as every situation, because of the mind of Thrawn, that there is a viable tether on why he's going or doing something. They don't just go, oh crap, we got to have a reason for Thrawn to do this. No, they've already dropped it, and then it's just how Thrawn puts it together in his head and how the scenarios are playing out in the plot that you're like, yeah, no, that actually makes perfect sense. So yeah, that I think that's a great thing to bring up, because it is so well done in this whole series. And I think we can all point to other books that we've read where you're just like, okay, maybe not as much, like it's not tight, and we definitely can point to television shows and movies where they don't even try. They're just like, this guy needs to be here, he's going to be there and find this thing, we're not even going to explain that. So yeah, that's a great part there. So Jesse, can I call on you? What do you think so far? One of your favorite moments or scenes? It could be anything. Yeah.
I really like chapter 6. I think I messaged you guys about chapter 6.
Yeah. I didn't want to steal it, but that was also one of my favorites.
When Thrawn comes out and says straight up he's been manipulating Phelan.
Yep.
And he drops a hint that that's actually not his source. There's Delta source, which I believe is Winter. I'm sticking to my original thing from the last.
Oh, that's right.
I think it's Winter.
Oh,
I think
about that.
I think it's Winter pulling all these strings, doing all this manipulation for Thrawn, and they're using Phelan as a scapegoat.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I really like that in that particular chapter, and realistically, we got to talk about how great a character Pelion is, right? Because he's literally the reader that's just being swept behind Thrawn, and every time Thrawn talks, he's like, how do you know this is going to happen? What are you doing? Why aren't you letting me in on this? And he's this by the book guy, but it's through him. He's asking the questions that we are thinking about, and he's getting those answers. So you see how far ahead Thrawn is. Thrawn's like, you know what? We can lead these guys, and we don't even have to have influence because we've just left the door open. I know what they're going to do, so I don't even have to basically have them in his pocket, basically, right? He's done things so like they said, the Bothan is just going to follow along because he knows that Bothan's ambitious and they're going to tug it. And I think Thrawn said it best. He's like, listen, we don't want to put so much evidence that it's going to be too obvious, but we're going to put enough to sow discontent and to make them mistrust each other and waste resources finding out. So again, Thrawn's just mastermind, and Paleon's just not even close. He's not even the Watson elementary, my dear Watson. No, he's not even like, I can't figure anything.
Paleon's just like, my ship? I fly the ship? And Thrawn's like, buddy, let me tell you.
Exactly.
It's okay.
And it's just so funny. You see, poor Paleon, he's always, to his credit, he's still a captain. He's still like, I question your judgment, Thrawn. I don't think it's right to trust Koboth. I don't like. He speaks what he's saying, but it's always just like, no, every time he does, Thrawn's like, I heed what you're saying. I value your opinion. Here's where you're wrong. Right? So it's super cool. Like, they've got this really neat, I think, relationship, but I do really like that is our link to this mastermind. So Megan, what's so far one of your favorite parts or moments?
So you touched on it because you said relationships and like following Scott and his theme idea. I think that for a lot of these chapters, one of the themes are relationships, and everybody's sort of using those relationships to their advantage or potentially disadvantage, depending on which side you are hoping to be victorious. But one of my favorite lines is when Akbar is talking to, I think it's Han and Leia or something, when they like go to his house. And he said, you said Counselor Organa Solo's brother was with you at Sluis Van. And I thought it was so funny that he called Luke Skywalker Organa Solo's brother instead of just like Skywalker. Because it really shows where he favors the relationship. He really appreciates Leia and her like political prowess over Luke's fighting ability, I guess, in this case, because that's all he sort of knows him as, like the Jedi that took down Darth Vader kind of thing. So I thought that was really funny with the word choice and how it really showed the characterization and the relationship between those two. But then, like you said, Paleon and Thrawn and how their relationship sort of just invites the reader in, because like you said, Paleon's asking all the questions that we're just like, what?
Yeah.
And then we have the relationship between like Chewie and Leia. We see that happening, and I just
Han and Leia too, because they're keeping secrets from each other, right? Like Han's not giving his source, and Leia's not telling about her trip that she's got planned.
Her trip,
yeah.
Listen, I got to jump in right there because that's the perfect segue. So my first moment, I'm going to do my moments in book order, but if you guys will indulge me, I'd love to read my first favorite part. And I got to say, Han Solo just continues to be the shining star in this series for me. And I think it's very different from where I was when I read it originally. But this is the moment where they're basically leaving Akbar's and talking, and Leia's like, I got to tell you about this trip. And I'm going to read this little description of what Han says about Leia, or he's thinking, doesn't say it to her. He says, for a long moment, he gazed at her, his eyes searching the features of the face that he'd grown to love so deeply over the years, his memory bringing up images of the past as it did so. The young determination in her face as, in the middle of blazing firefight, she grabbed Luke's blaster rifle away from him and shot them an escape route into the Death Star's detention level garbage chute. I love that he's bringing back the imagery from the movie.
Totally.
The sound of her voice in the middle of a deadly danger at Jabba's, helping him through the blindness and the tremor of disorientation of hibernation sickness. The wiser, more mature determination visible through the pain in her eyes as lying wounded beside an Endor bunker, she had nevertheless summoned the skill and control to coolly shoot 2 stormtroopers off Han's back. And he remembered too the wrenching realization he'd had at the same time, that no matter how much he tried, he would never be able to totally protect her from the dangers and risks of the universe. Because no matter how much he might love her, no matter how much he might give of himself to her, she could never be content with that alone. Her vision extended beyond him, just as it extended beyond herself to all the beings of the galaxy. And to take that away from her, whether by force or even by persuasion, would be to diminish her soul and to take away part of what he'd fallen in love with in the first place. Bam! Like, just shot right through the heart, nails it.
Yeah.
You know, this is a man who loves a person so deeply that he knows he cannot change that person and has to let her be who she is. And I think, you know, I don't want to rip on the movies and stuff, because that's not what we're here to do. But that one page, like, I read it and I teared up and I said, oh my God, this guy got it. And I don't know how the movie makers at Disney and LucasArts for those sequel movies could overlook the truest love in the galaxy, which was the princess and the smuggler. You know what I mean? This is, you know, it's just a classic thing. And I love every line of that thing. And I'm just like, holy smokes, man. It's just, it's
you would think Disney would have gotten that right. I mean, that's literally every Disney movie.
Every Disney movie.
Aladdin, Rapunzel. Like, I mean, it's always like the little rogue and the princess. Like, that's like, how did they
Cinderella, everything. Yeah. Like, and again, look how masterfully he does it. He brings back their relationship, just the key moments from the movie, so you automatically think of those great moments, and then you're like, wow, this is a really great love story, you know. And the fact that they got together and just Han having that realization, like, they could have made Han the player. He could have been just like, well, she's too headstrong, I don't care, I don't want her. And he's like, no, I like, this is the woman I love, and she's, you know, I can't hold her because the universe needs her, just like she needs to help the universe. And I'm like, holy crap. So amazing moment. And again, goes back to what Megan's talking about, character and relationship.
Yeah.
And this series, that's the thing. Like, this book series, you know, if you guys are watching this, that's why you read this series, because you get so much depth. The characters that we saw on the screen and we knew were full realized characters, you get even more in this book series. So yeah, you have to listen to it on an audiobook or read it, but trust me, man, worth it. Timothy Zahn, as writing this, he doesn't get one character wrong. Right up from the non-speaking Chewbacca to the droids to R2 and C3PO, you know what I mean? Not one moment when I was reading this do I go, no, that doesn't sound like what one of those characters would say, you know. And I think that's really, for a lack of a better word, that's really magical in this to read, you know. And it's really great, you know, and it's timeless, because we have this, no matter what Disney makes for Star Wars, we can always go back. Like I said, this is, I'm sure it's more than my third time, but I'm going to say my third time, you know, and it's just fantastic. So loving it. All right. So that was me gushing, and thank you for letting me read that to you guys. What else we got for that we've liking? Anybody liking any of the plot developments that we've got going on? Because there's a lot of plot going on in these first 10 chapters. You know, they're, again, hitting the ground running. We've got Leia on her mission. We've got Luke and Han finding a new mission. We've got Talon getting to a new base, right? How cool. Let's talk a little bit about that scene, because I know Megan loves Mara Jade. How freaking cool is Mara Jade becoming in this series? They get a new base, and she's just like, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it.
It was like a hot minute they had a new base.
Yeah, a hot minute, you know, and just so like, she's just so like cool. She's like, oh, is this guy following me? Oh, okay. Well, he can't follow me. Turns the tail around, does everything right. But oh, wait a minute. Who got the one up on her? How cool was that? Did you guys recognize the name, by the way?
Wasn't he introduced? Who said it before? Somebody said it earlier. I can't remember.
So he was, because again, I'm the super nerd, so you guys probably wouldn't, maybe not part of it. Scott's got the shirt on, so that character was Dengar. Dengar was one of the 4 bounty hunters.
Oh yeah,
on the bridge. He was the guy with the kind of the head wrap and stuff like that, and she just dropped his ass. So again, we had a character that up until that point, next to nothing about Dengar, puts him in. He sounded kind of badass, sounded kind of smart. He's like, hey, I just hired this street rat to lead you on a chase, and now I've got you. But man, Mara Jade just gets back and she's like, here's his credentials, the boss, we gotta go. And then she's like, all right, great. Cool. Let's get up and go. So yeah, what a cool, like, I just love even that scene there. You know, again, where I talk about her force abilities awakening, and she knows she's stuck, right? She's like, I can't get to my blaster. He's disarmed me. Can't do this. And she's like, okay, concentrate. Let me just move this thing. And again, then split second reaction. She just needed 1 second, and she took it. And I like that there's no hesitation. I like that, you know, she's just like, yep, nope, this is it. Checks her surroundings. Did anybody see? Nope. All right, back to the base. And that really cool realization. She's like, okay, well, my abilities are coming back. The dreams are going to come. But then she's like, but I'm not that person on the run anymore. So she's like, I can deal with it. I'm in a better position. And she's like, I can now hunt Skywalker. I can end this. And you're just like, wow. Like, again, such determination. So, love it. So good. But yeah, I don't want to keep gushing. Who else has got some cool moments?
I really liked when they were talking about the katana fleet. I thought that was so neat. And then when Lando was like, hey, wait a minute. This like upholstery or whatever is a little bit weird.
Yeah.
They only made that for that fleet. And like Han's like, wait, what? I thought it was so cool. And I was like, dang, that's sick. Like, that's how they introduced the whole fleet to Lando and Han. I thought that was so neat. Like, such a cool way to do it instead of just like, well, this is an interesting dreadnought that we're on.
Yeah.
I don't know why, just because. I thought it was really cool because it shows how much Lando knows about like grayish area things, you know? Yeah. So I thought that was really cool.
Well, I think yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the Katana fleet and what it means. And again, it goes right back to Talon and Mara. He opens up to Mara Jade and he's like, "Hey, you know, 15 years ago when I was just a helmsman on this ship, I think I ran into this fleet, but we jumped out of there. I memorized the coordinates. I haven't told anybody." And he's like, "And when the time's right, we're gonna go and get those ships." And she's like, "When's the time right?" She's like, "Well, I got to figure out what to do with 200 dreadnought class ships. Who's going to buy that?" And she's like, "Give them to Thrawn." And then he's like, "Hold on, Mara, think this through. We give it to Thrawn. Yeah, he's cool with us for a week. Then he remembers what we did. Now we've armed him and blasted him." And then she's like, "Well, give him to the Republic." He's like, "I don't know if the Republic can handle that." And so it's just this really cool back and forth. Like he's a cool calculating cat, you know, and everything he says, at a certain point, you know, Mara's thought it, but he's just 3 steps ahead of Mara, right? So, you know, she's thinking about the crew, and she's like, "Yeah, you know what, Thrawn, we'll get back in his good books." And he's like, "No, there's no getting back in his good books," you know. And I like that he's a realist like that, you know. So it's just super cool, and just kind of the whole history of the fleet and the slave ships and how they could. What did they say that to crew one of those ships was like 1,500 men or something, like a ridiculous number. And they're like, oh yeah, but now with the slave circuits, you can get it down to 200. And you're like, holy crap, that's amazing. And the irony is, it was on their maiden voyage that they all jumped off the wrong way because they all got some type of sickness and went crazy, and they slaved all the ships and just jumped. And think about how big the galaxy is. Yeah. If you've got no vector or no course, so again, it is really like a I don't want to say pipe, but needle in a haystack, right? But again, as Scott mentioned, now you've set up a reason for Thrawn to need ships. You set up somebody who might know about ships. Now they've set up how the Clone Wars worked and how the Dark Jedi. So they knew where they wanted to get, but they made sure all the seeds were able to be picked up. And again, it's just great writing. And just even the fact that Lando knew something about it. Luke found in the first book, he found the slave ship controller. So everything's got its place. It's not coming out of left field and you're scratching your head going, huh, how did they put this together? Why is this person here or there and stuff like that? So yeah, it's super, super cool. So yeah, I'm just so loving it.
I never empathized more with Han Solo than realizing he's a terrible backseat pilot when Lando's flying the ship down, and he's like, and I'm like, that's me in the passenger seat of a car. Like I'm just like no, wait, like I have to drive all the time. I'm like, and no one drives as well as I do, right? Like I'm like, oh my god, like this is me right here, like classic.
Orlando.
Yeah, I know. He's like, I have flown before, you know.
Yeah,
like, I'm pretty good at this.
Yeah.
And then he insults the ship too, and he's like, I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah, it's so good. Like again, we get these great moments with the pairs of characters, how they paired them off and stuff like that. And you learn more about each of them when they're together. And I think that's also really cool. Again, especially, talk about the Chewbacca and Leia moments. And again, that's really well written because she doesn't quite understand Chewie 100%, but she's got to speak for him to us because she repeats what he says and with C-3PO. So we get the comic moments in there, little bits. But again, I really like the Lando and Han stuff because Han basically ropes Lando into helping him. He's like, oh, let me just take your ship. I'm going to drop you off over here. And he's like, okay, Lando, you can go about your way. But then you might miss out on this deal. Yeah. And then Lando being the consummate businessman, he's like, oh, come on, man. And then he gets trapped up because the Empire shows up. And it's like all these things. And then it's like, I guess I have to keep following you because we're in my ship, the Lady Luck, right? So such a cool moment and stuff. Another one of my next kind of favorite moment, I think it was chapter 5. Let me see if I can find the anyways, not important what page it is or what chapter it is, but it's that moment where Han has split up. He's following the Bothan and they've got to meet Luke at the cafe, and Lando comes in and all of a sudden there's the altercation with the two aliens, and there's the fight, and everybody in the bar knows that it's Luke Skywalker. They know he's a Jedi.
There's a Jedi. Don't fix it.
They all just basically say, hey, why don't you moderate this? They all defer, like you're a wise Jedi Knight. And I love it because Luke's like, me? And then he's like, oh my God. People used to revere the Jedi. They were the peacekeepers. He's like, but I don't know any of that. And you get this genuine sense of panic from him, right? And it's super cool because, again, that paragraph, I don't want to read it all to you, but he's just like, oh man, it's like, the Jedi were servants of the people, so people respect it. And I think that's kind of the first time that Luke can really reflect on what the Jedi was and the importance of the Jedi to the people. And I really like that because this is, again, this came out before the prequel movies. So we had never seen people like the Jedi. We always see people kind of disbelieve that they exist or kind of spit their name or not mention them at all. You're like, oh, we can't mention those guys, right? But this was such a cool moment, and how we then see that Luke is like, oh, I wish I had the sense of diplomacy of my sister, but he gets through it, right? And and Lando comes in and helps him translate and stuff like that. But again, as Scott says, we then get the smuggler, I think Niles Ferry. And it was really cool because how Luke finds him, he's trying to calm himself down and use his Jedi senses to kind of get a diplomatic ending. And he's like, oh, I smell the same cigar or the same smell.
Dude needs a new brand.
So unique. And then he's like, and then could you imagine how cool that scene would be? A Jedi goes into a trance and he goes, Niles, please stand up or whatever. And then because he hasn't seen him, and then Niles is like, shit, called out. So he gets up, and then the transaction is like, oh, how much is Imperial credits worth on the open market and stuff like that. So again, just a really, really cool scene that you get the vibe of not only the sense of what the past is with the old Jedi Knights, but what this possible future is, because people respect Luke, and they respect not only Luke, but what the Jedi represents. And I think at that moment, like for me, I like to think that this was the moment that maybe Luke would then realize that importance of bringing back the Jedi. You know, he doesn't mention it here, but again, me rereading it, I'm like, yo, that's cool. Like they're just talking about how they do it. So yeah, it was really just a cool moment. I love the Jedis too, so it's it's a big part of Star Wars and stuff. And again, Luke being, he's that humble guy. He's that humble, I don't want to say absent hero, but he just wants to do right genuinely, not because I'm a Jedi, I've got the Force, listen to me. It's more of, oh no, I can help these people. These people deserve that help and stuff. So yeah, super, super cool. It's like, it says the Barbarell, you talk respect. He snarled, he is a Jedi, you talk respect. So this is the Barbarell saying to the Niles, like, you respect the Jedi, and it's super cool, because up until this point, all we've known through those movies was that you don't say Jedi and there are no Jedis left and stuff. So yeah, really, really digging how these moments Thrawn could come, not Thrawn, Timothy Zahn could come up with in these in the book. And it just creates, he's wrapping us in the world, and he's expanding it. Again, if you were reading this book when it came out, all we had was those 3 movies and Return of the Jedi and stuff. And now the world's expanding, through this. Yes, we did have like the role-playing games, West End games, but that wasn't, mainstream. How many people were buying a role-playing book to learn about Star Wars? Not many people. That was it. Like, it's not how popular as it is today, and it's not as readily available as that stuff is today. But when this came out, lots of fans and I'm sure casual fans even picked up this book and were able to read it and get even more insight into not only our heroes, but the scope and scale of the galaxy, right? Because he's also taking us to different worlds and introducing us to different species, but also the political climate around that, as we saw with the people the Bothans were kind of working with, and sure, they weren't upfront about who they were working with, but it also wasn't something that was illegal. It was just a relationship that needed to be kept on the down low, and that gets brought up in later chapters. So I don't want to go too much into that stuff. But yeah, just super, just super well done. Really, really can't say, more than that. I legitimately don't. I can't think of anything that I didn't like in this series. Was there any moments that you guys, that maybe not that you didn't like, but that you didn't like as much? I don't.
It's not that I don't like it, but what does Leia think she's gonna accomplish? Like, she's going off, and I think most of us have read a little bit further than we're talking about now. Yeah. But like, come on, like, that's not gonna end well. Like, why, right? Like
it's a whole planet of these people that are
to get you. Yeah.
They don't like
Yeah.
you, man, and they haven't liked you for a long time. And you're
Yeah.
just like, you look at me. I'm nice. I promise. We didn't know we did this to you. My bad.
Well, they like her, but they don't like her. They like Lady
Right.
Vader, but they don't like the Republic.
Yeah.
So they're kind of, I don't know. I don't know what she's trying to accomplish. She's
Well, do you think that's a little bit of, shall we say, royal arrogance, right? Like she was a politician. She's raised as royalty, and maybe she just thinks that I can do so much more. And in this part, maybe she did bite off more than she can chew because she fell into the role. But you're absolutely right. Like, what sane person would agree to do that and then follow through with it with only Chewbacca and C-3PO? Like, that's no backup.
by herself originally too, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's his name? I always forget it. He let Chewbacca come on the ship, but he wasn't originally supposed to come, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, again, that's man. See, that's another one of my favorite parts, and that's where we the Nagari just talks about understanding the life debt.
Yeah.
And I really like this part here because they talk about and I had forgotten this part. So they talk about the importance of the Wookiee life debt. And they even said, the life debt is not only to Han, but it encompasses Leia, Luke, and the unborn children. And I really like that. So it even goes further than you saying, wow, like, if we didn't love Chewbacca enough, right? How can you be like, hey, my life debt, not only it's to who Han loves and who is his family. I will protect you and yours. And I'm just like, God bless you, Chewie. Like just my God, like that's like your, what better friend and companion for life could you ask for than that?
Who doesn't love a big walking carpet?
Yeah, and like I said, it just instantly, like, it instantly just widens it. Like I said, it makes the world bigger. Like she says, yeah, Chewie extended it to include my brother and me, and now the children you bear within you. Yes, and I'm just like, whoa, that's just bravo.
And you know that Chewie wasn't just like, oh, fine, I guess I'll extend. He was just like, well, this obviously extends to you.
Yeah,
this is obviously you are obviously part of it.
It was no thing, and that's and again, you see that with, like, I can almost picture, like, when Leia's talking and doing stuff. Like, could you imagine Chewie like pacing around the ship and being angry and just like, what's wrong with this woman? Why doesn't she understand what I mean? And stuff like that. And you get the sense that he's frustrated with her and nervous and all these things. Like they describe his climbing claws retracting and coming out. So that's that sense. And you're just like, wow, like, again, super cool. Like again, Timothy Zahn's taking characters, again, a character that can't speak, and just added this level in, and now you not only want to connect more, but you do connect more with him. You understand, and you're just like deepening it. So yeah, so he doesn't have to have these lines, but when they come out, they're strong, So yeah, just so cool. And also, I gotta say, like, from our initial interaction with the Nagari with Thrawn, and they felt very kind of subservient. He was like just like this killing machine, and you didn't hear anything. But then once we get to their planet and you see, oh, hey, no, they do have a like a caste system, and oh, it's matriarch driven. And then they get into it and they understand honor, and they're like, oh, and he's like, my clan will give you protection because they're my clan. Don't worry about it. And then when Thrawn comes, they do exactly that, and stuff. So it's just like, so again, there's these different layers to each and all of the characters. And again, you create somebody new, but that person can just address and push something this is why Chewbacca can come along. Well, because these guys are very honor driven too, right? So yeah, just fantastic stuff, and this is so far, like we've basically skimmed maybe half of the chapters we've talked, like 1 to 9. There's so much like in this, and there's so much to love, right?
Yeah. It's a very well written book. Like whenever Chewie's involved, you can see the imagery and stuff that comes out in the writing, because he doesn't need to have words. And even if we didn't have somebody really translating, we could still picture how he's feeling and feel his emotions based on the descriptions. And I think it's insanely well done. Like, it's insane.
Jesse, you had something to add there?
Me?
Did you have something to add?
Oh yeah, I was just going to talk a little bit about Han Solo and how he's grown on me quite a bit. I never liked him in the original trilogy. I thought he was. I didn't like him. He's the reluctant hero, right? He doesn't want to be a hero, but it's fallen in his lap, so he'll do it because he's bored. But from reading these books, he's growing on me, and he's moving up the notches. He's probably one of my favorite characters now. Just how he's grown. And when we first see him in this book, he's all alone on the Millennium Falcon, and it's bugging him. So he's like, "I'm gonna go get C-3PO. I don't like him, but I'm lonely, so I'm gonna go grab him."
And instant regret. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think he lasted 3 days, and he's like, "I locked him back away. I locked him away." But he's just growing so much. He needs the people. He needs his family to be around him. When he's talking to Adbark, he's like, "This guy doesn't like me," and Adbark's like, "No, I like you. It just I don't like what you represented, but I like who you've become."
Yeah.
Right. Which I guess is sort of like me. I didn't like him before, but I like what he's grown into.
Yeah, and I think that was another great moment, because how much did we know about the Mon Calamari? Nothing. And then in this one book, they're just like, Han, he doesn't like you because you resigned your commission as a general, and the Mon Calamari stepped up. They were a peaceful people, and they instantly ramped up into this military culture and outfitted they said those Mon Calamari cruisers were cruise ships, and they said they outfitted those into battle frigates, and it's just like Leia's just like, he just doesn't understand how you can drop your duty and stuff. And again, we now got more on this species, so I know that's what a book's supposed to do. You've got more characters and stuff like that, and you want to flesh things out, but it's just how those situations come up. It's not like it's like an encyclopedia of facts. It's not like they just said, "Oh, well, the Mon Calamari were peaceful people." You know what I mean? It comes off natural, organic. It's part of the conversation and stuff, and we're along for that. Mind you, we did have a pretty cool scene where Luke goes to the encyclopedia that is Winter. Winter finds him in the library, and she's got encyclopedic knowledge. So again, he even found a way to work that in. And even though like that could have been a dull moment, right? You get her insight on, oh yeah, there was a reference to the Jedi Master going to Alderaan. So even though the galaxy is this large place, they do have to make it smaller so all of the players can fit on the board. But it does make sense once you start getting the histories and stuff like that. And they did mention the final mission, which was the outbound flight. I don't know if you guys know, Timothy Zahn also did write the book on the outbound flight. So that's, again, super cool. We're getting all these tidbits. Like, could you imagine, thinking back to the original Star Wars movie, and Leia says, "Obi-Wan, you helped my father in the Clone Wars." Man, that's so far. We didn't know what the hell. The movie just started. They mentioned Clone Wars. The series starts, and then they talk about the outbound flight, And again, it could have been a throwaway line, but later on, we did get that as a book and how it. So again, super, super cool. So much to digest in here. So, well, let's wrap it up with some final little questions. I guess this is a no-brainer. We're still on board. We're liking the book. We're still recommending the book. Yeah. All right.
100%.
And I know Jesse said that the character that grew on you the most is Han Solo. So, is any other characters so far growing on you, Megan and Scott, that you think so far are better or getting more into?
Still just Mara Jade. I think she's so cool, and I think like her connection to Palpatine was really interesting. And then when he died, it seemed like she sort of lost her connection with the Force and like kind of wants to avoid it, but also is appreciative that it's there when she needs it. And so I think that's really interesting that it's all starting to come back. And I'm interested to see sort of what happens when she really lays claim to what her abilities actually are and takes advantage of those abilities and starts to develop them. I think that's going to be really neat.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to like her more as a villain or if she's a good person. I think maybe villain, because I think she'd be a good balance. Like she's got the skills and she'd be a worthy adversary. But I'm actually going to steal Megan's other answer. I'm really liking Chewie. Like just like she said, like you kind of said, like that you really get into like Chewbacca. And yes, you know, in the movies you get a sense, and I think the acting was really good, but you really get a lot of background and you really get a sense of like who he is as a, I don't know, person or a Wookiee, I guess. You get a lot of depth into his character. He really, and I've always liked him. I mean, he's always, you know, like, but like, really digging it.
Yeah.
Now I have a question for you, Andre.
Yes.
Outbound flight. When does that take place?
That takes place just before it. Okay, so for the original book continuity and what this book was going for, the outbound flight would have happened right before the Clone Wars.
So a long time. Okay.
So yeah, so basically, again, before the Clone Wars that we know happened, but what Timothy Zahn references is, you know, the with the Dark Jedi and that version of the Clone Wars, it would have taken place right before that. And it's really kind of cool because they talk about how many Jedi Masters were on this mission to find life outside of past the unknown regions. And again, it was basically Palpatine sweeping the board of some very powerful, potentially powerful Jedis, getting it out of the way for him to make his power play, right?
I only asked because George Koboth was Palpatine's advisor, which it said in that chapter.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if Mara Jade knows Koboth. But if the timelines don't match up. So.
The timelines wouldn't necessarily match up because Mara Jade would have met Palpatine when he was Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah.
You know, not before. So, but again, like, you know,
it's all of the stuff
all of the stuff that he was able to do, and I guess technically, you know, the prequels didn't pull anything. Well, I won't say they didn't pull anything from here. Remember, they pulled Coruscant from here, and they pulled other tidbits of information, you know, from this, but nothing really on the plot stuff. And that's, you know, Lucas is right. He is the chief storyteller. If this was a game of Dungeons and Dragons, he's the DM. It's his world, so he gets to change it. But when you go back and you see like just how still connected what Zahn had done, I'm gonna keep messing up his name tonight. What Zahn had done, he did a great job. And if that was what working with Lucas, licensing, or Lucas, like the book people and stuff like that, they all did a great job on putting together such a cohesive story with all these little angles and ways to be like, hey, make sure you drop some hints that we can have stuff on the periphery, other things to come out, right? And just a really good, really, really good job. So folks, this has been our first talk about chapters 1 to 9 for book 2, Dark Force Rising. And again, that title should tell you something. It's going to end up, we're not quite there yet, but it's going to end up to be the Empire Strikes Back of the series, because frickin' Grand Admiral Thrawn is literally like the trap is sprung. He's maneuvering all the pieces into place, and it doesn't matter what force abilities they have. They are not prepared to see this coming. He has sown the seeds of mistrust in the rebellion. He's weakened their military capability. He's oh man, we didn't even talk about the battle where he just attacks the shipyard or the shipping lane, and he just hammers them, and then he's like, all right, Palion, let's retreat. And he's like, why are you letting them live? He's like, the more people who live to tell the tale of how badass the Empire is, that forces the Republic. They're either gonna have to, protect these shipping lanes, or they're gonna close them down, and that's gonna make people maybe not think about joining the Republic. Genius. Loving this stuff. Can't wait to get back to the next 10 chapters we'll do and talk about it with you guys. Again, I want to say I'm so happy that you guys are enjoying it and stuff, and it's so good to discuss it with people who are enjoying it and looking forward to discussing it more. So thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Scott. Thank you to those out watching this video. If you like this format that we've done, just talking in general about the chapters, please let us know in the comments below. And I'm going to hope you've already liked and subscribed and hit that notification so you can find out all the very cool content that Heroes World is bringing you, not only here on YouTube, but Twitch, our social media, Instagram, or our Facebook. Heroes World Online. That's where you're going to find all of our stuff online. And if you happen to be in our neck of the woods, which is in Markham, Ontario, stop on by. Check us out, see what we've got to offer, or just come in and strike up a conversation. So, till the next time, folks, may the Force be with you.